We have time after time over this state examples of where the state and federal employees or employees paid jointly by the state and federal government have instigated these projects where the landowners did not want them, where the landowners did not need them. And it's that type of activity that I'm opposed to.
Mrs. Yost, what is the Landowners Protective Association?
It is a state organization that is made up of farmers. It is run by farmers. It is paid for by farmers. And it is for the benefit of farmers.
When was it formed?
It was formed April of 30th in the Blue Room at the state capitol of this year.
Why was it formed?
It was formed for the protection of the landowners of the state of Oklahoma.
And who are you interested in protecting them from?
We're interested in protecting them from the conservancy districting of the state of Oklahoma.
Now, can you tell me just what it is you don't like about conservancy districts?
The main thing we don't like about conservancy districts is that the state and federal employees instigate these conservancy districts, and a lot of them are instigated through false and misrepresentation. There are many things that the farmers are told, such as that it won't cost them anything, that the government pays every dime of it, which is not true. And they are told that it will benefit the land, which in many cases it does not. And that are the main things that we are against.
Now, you say that it does cost the farmer some money. How much does it cost the farmer? Where are his expenses in this project?
The expenses that occur to the local group are through the taxation of what they call benefited land. That is the area that lays below the lake sites. And that can be assessed any amount of taxes that the directors occur on the land.
Now, how expensive can this be to a man who owns a farm in Oklahoma?
It can be far more than the valuation of his land.
Now, as I understand this program, it's designed to benefit the land, to improve the land and thus improve agriculture in the state.
That may be true in some areas, but you will have to remember that the Geographical Survey of the state of Oklahoma shows that 2/3 of all the land in this state is underlaid with Hennessy shale. Hennessy shale, with water running over it, causes seepage of salt and gyp. This ruins the fertile bottom land below the lakes. Now, this has happened around in Barnett Watershed in Custer County. Much of what was fertile bottom land is ruined by seepage of salt and gyp to where the farmers cannot raise crops from them now. Now, in other areas, like Cottonwood Creek at Guthrie, the survey shows there is much of that area underlaid with Hennessy shale. Now, those farmers that are below the lakes in that area will be supposedly benefited and will be assessed taxes, and then in a few years their land will probably be ruined by this seepage. What landowner can pay taxation on supposedly benefited land that is ruined from seepage of salt and gyp?
The people who advocate this sort of thing, what they tell us that it's all done through petitions signed by 51% of those farmers affected. So the next question, I suppose, is if 51% of the farmers involved are in favor of it, then it is at least democratic, is it not?
Well, that's what they say, it's democratic, but my thought of democracy is fair to all. If the whole story, the true story, would have been told about the conservancy districts, there would not have been any one formed in the state of Oklahoma. People, if you were a landowner, Ernie, and I would walk up to you with a petition that didn't have a heading on it, and you would sign it, and you would find a little later that this petition was filed in district court for an upstream watershed that would tax your bottom land, I wonder what you'd feel like. I kind of believe you'd feel like 51% of those farmers had been taken.
Now, isn't it also true that those who oppose this project have some time in which to gather their own petitions in an effort to kill it?
That's right. The people that are for the project have 2 years or more to get their petitions signed and filed with the district court and Supreme Court, while the people, the true landowners that know this project, oppose it, have from 15 to 30 days to get their 51% signers and filed in district court.
Is it possible to defeat a project in district court if you can prove that it's, say, there's going to be seepage and there's Hennessy shale and it's going to ruin more land than it's going to help? Is it possible to defeat such a move in court on those grounds?
It isn't in a district court. There is no law by where a judge can dismiss a conservancy district after it has been filed the required amount of 30 days. His hands are tied. He cannot do anything. It is perpetual. There is no limit to the existence.
Now, am I right? Is it the position of the association that state and federal employees are instigating the watersheds?
That's right.
And it's not a question of a group of farmers wanting something, but it's a question of the government wanting something.
Yes, it's a question of these paid employees. Our taxation pays them. They can sit around in an air-conditioned room and plan up these things on our land. They don't own the land, we do. We have to be out, our husbands and sons, on the farm farming this land to make a living. We can't be down here at the legislature and the Capitol and every place fighting these things. They file these districts maybe even 10 days before we ever know they're out with the petition. And the farmers don't want this. They just say, well, they came out and sold us a rosy picture, and we thought it was true, and we signed the petition, and it was only for a survey, they told us. But when they filed it, they found out they had this watershed, conservancy district with perpetual existence, any amount of taxation, nothing they can do about it. We have it, live with it, or they'll sell your land when the taxes are due. 3 years if you don't pay your taxes, and 6% interest. And during this 3 years, if it's delinquent, it's 15% interest. And at the end of 3 years, if this isn't paid, they sell your land.
Mrs. Yost, just how powerful are these districts?
They are more powerful than a school district, than a city, than a county line. They even cross the state lines. They have the power of eminent domain over the entire district.
Now, what does that mean?
That means they can take any farm by condemnation. They can move anyone's house. They can move cemeteries, pipelines, anything that's in the way. They can do anything. They can build any lakes. They can stop the flow of every stream that goes to every farm home. They can stop the flow of every stream that goes to every city. They can do anything. It's unlimited.
Well, let's get a little more general for a moment. Does your organization oppose upstream flood control as such, or are you unhappy with the way this program is being conducted in Oklahoma?
We're unhappy with the way it's being conducted. Now, we are for soil conservation. We take care of our farms. We terrace. We build small farm ponds. We take good care of our land if the government and this local organization will let us alone. We will show Oklahoma that we have a wonderful land that isn't crying for the government's help.
But don't these dams prevent erosion?
No, I don't think they do. They may in some places, but now on this Barnett's Watershed in Custer County that we visited just a couple of weeks ago, we saw ditches that were 4 foot deep, a half a mile below a lake. We saw roads that were closed from seepage from a lake. We saw ditches that you couldn't go down the roads for them. I would say it does not control erosion.
Well, then what would the Landowners Protective Association like to see done?
We would like to see the farmers, the landowners, have full control of their land and take care of it themselves. Maybe have this little ASC program that we have that allowed the government to help a little bit in our terraces and farm ponds, but that way the farmer went in and signed up his 160 acres on his own. Now, they didn't some big director come along and say, now you're going to do this. We do this on our own if we wish to. Now, that's the kind of a program I believe is best for the state of Oklahoma.
Short of repealing this law, are there any changes you'd like to see made in it?
Well, there's one thing that would help a lot. If we could take out the power to exercise the power of eminent domain. Now, that would help a lot, but repeal is the only thing that will bring Oklahoma back on its feet and help the landowners and protect them against this severe law of conservancy districting.
How many members are there in your organization?
That I can't tell you, Ernie. I did hear a senator say in the Senate chamber one day there was between 2,000 and 3,000, but I haven't taken the time to count them. But I do know that we have membership in 30 counties. But that's a lot of names for me to sit down and count all at once.
Well, do you think you're winning the fight or holding your own, or...
Well, we've gone a long way since April the 30th. We have... we have killed one law on the Senate floor, which was it was a Senate Bill 276. Now, we were responsible for that being killed on the Senate floor. That was the reenacting of House Bill 674, which was repealed just 2 years ago by a local group of farmers, the Upstream Farmers Association in Kingfisher, Blaine, and Canadian County. Then we also...
Wasn't that the parent organization of this?
Yes. And we also attacked a rural water bill, which was Senate Bill 837, and that, through the good help of Senator Clem McSpadden, withdrew the power of eminent domain. And then in the Conservancy District law, House Bill 669, we, with the help of the Farm Bureau, succeeded in getting several amendments to that, which makes it a better Conservancy District law than was before.
Where would someone write or phone or go to get some information about the association?
We have this book, The Truth About Conservancy Districts, that is written by Glenn O. Young, the counselor of our group. It tells the facts about the conservancy districts that have already been formed in the state of Oklahoma.
And how do you go about getting one of those?
You may order that from me or from the American Advisor at Sapulpa, Oklahoma. They printed the book.
Mr. Emerson, there's been a tremendous amount of heated debate and bad feelings and controversy over these watershed districts in Oklahoma. There are those people who are staunchly for them and many who are violently against them. One such against group, the Landowners Protective Association, claims that the law is stacked against people who would oppose a district. They point out that there are 2 years in which a petition for one of these watershed districts can be circulated, but opponents have only 30 days to raise over half of the signatures against one. What's your feeling on this complaint of theirs?
Well, as the law now provides, the petition in order for the court to create a conservancy district is and this is what they have reference to, the petition must contain not less than 51% of the owner's signatures and 51% of the land area must be represented on the petition, so that when this petition is filed in the court, a majority of the landowners must have signed the petition. Now, in the past, this has not been true. The law before provided that they could go into court if there was more than one county affected with 25% in each county. If just one county, they had to have a 50%. So that they have any number of hours or years in which to get a petition signed. But as the law provides now, they've got to have over a majority on the petition before the court can act on it.
There's been quite some amount of discussion as to the cost or lack of cost to individual property owners. Is there an expense in one of these districts to the individual landowner?
Now, under our watershed program, the Public Law 566 program, which is the one that is being used throughout the state with the exception of on the Washita River, the local people have certain obligations under the law. This is a program that is more or less of a partnership between the local people, some local organizations, the state government, and the federal government. The local people have the obligation of furnishing the lands, easements, and rights of way upon which to build floodwater detention structures. They must administer the contracts, and they must operate and maintain the works of improvement after they're built. It is theoretically possible to construct one without any expense, but this is not likely. It has been done, but this is not what we people, particularly in this department, have told the people. That we've told them that if they are going into one of these projects with the idea that they're going to get everything for free, they're making a mistake. It is a project that if it is worth having, then it's worth the expense. We have only one district in the state which has made any assessments against landowners, and this is the Watershed Creek project down in Seminole and Hughes County. The other districts have not made any assessments. These assessments made in the Watershed Creek project were on the basis of the benefits that would be received and on lands that would be benefited with the works of improvement installed. That is, the land below these structures and on the creeks on which the flooding would be reduced, of which these people would receive benefits.
Opponents of these districts have claimed that the petitions have been circulated in blank and then filled out later, and that some people, particularly those in 6 Mile Creek who later defeated the petition, were told that they were signing a survey. And opponents of these districts claim that in many cases they're not given a full bill of particulars as to what they're signing.
Well, under this program, it's a local program, must be initiated locally. As far as what has been done in all of the districts, I'm not personally familiar. We have no responsibility, nor do we participate in the circulation of these petitions, because this is something that is a local matter and is entirely up to them. People who circulate them are those people who are affected and are asking the court to create a district for them and their neighbors. As far as 6 Mile Creek out in Canadian County, I'm not familiar with the particular circumstances involved in that situation. As to whether or not a bill of particulars is given, I'm sure that in some cases all of the people who are circulating petitions do not have all of the information that they need to know and consequently cannot give the landowners all the information they would like.
Some opponents have criticized the law under which these districts are set up in that they provide no standard for rejection. Some people claim that that they could prove that a particular project was unsound, but that according to the law, as long as the proper number of people have signed the petition, as long as it's legally correct, the judge has no option. He must then approve the district.
Well, that's not entirely correct. The law sets out certain things which the plan must contain, and under the law, the court has no discretion. That is, he doesn't have any leeway to approve it or disapprove it if a majority of the people come in and object to it. But if they do not, if a majority do not protest it, then he has some discretion as to whether or not to refer the plan back to the board of directors of the district for further revision, or he can reject it. He can reject it and dissolve the district. So far as I know, there has been no plan on which engineering data has been presented to show that the plan was not economically nor engineeringly unsound.
Opponents of these soil conservation districts claim that in many instances they result in saltwater seepage that ruins land, and they point out the Barnett's watershed that conservation people use as a model, and point out to people, and they say that now all that needs to be done is to go look at it to see that saltwater has damaged the area. Is there any truth to this?
Well, you're not referring to soil conservation districts now. You're referring to watershed projects. The Barnett's Creek watershed is on the Watershed River and is composed of some 170,000 acres with approximately 71 floodwater detention sites that have been built. And there are 16,000 acres of bottomland which these structures protect. Now, there is a problem that has developed in this area. Of the 16,000 acres, approximately 900 acres are affected by alkali or saltwater intrusion. A recent study has been made on this problem to see what has caused it and also what a solution might be. Some of this saltwater problem existed before the sites were built. Some of it was caused by the farmer covering up the channel below these structures so that any seepage could not get away. And some of it has been caused by the structures. There's no question about that. One solution seems to be to come in and reestablish this drainage ditch, or to possibly plant some type of Bermuda grass in this area which is tolerant to this condition. But the problem, I think the people will find, is not as serious as others would lead you to believe.
The Landowners Protective Association feels that conservationists have been active in instigating and promoting these watershed districts where they weren't really wanted. Do you feel that there's any truth in this charge?
We have, of course, some 109 watersheds active in Oklahoma, in addition to about 64 on the Watershed. In all of these watersheds, the State Soil Conservation Board has a responsibility to make a determination of the interest of the local people. And before an application is approved by this board, a hearing is held in the watershed to give the local people an opportunity to express themselves. It has been the board's policy that unless a large majority of the people in the watershed actively support the application, then it will not be approved. When a conservancy district is formed, as I have stated before, a majority of the affected landowners must sign the petition, so that regardless of who initiates it, before any action is taken, a majority of the people must approve it. Now, the local soil conservation people are there to render a service. to do what they can to solve the floodwater and sediment damage problems that the landowners have and to offer technical assistance. And I'm sure that they do whatever is necessary to render that assistance. But once again, all these watershed projects are local projects and essentially must be initiated by those people that are affected.
Mr. Emerson, has the right of eminent domain been misused or abused in setting up these districts?
Since it's of great importance to all of the landowners affected, we made a survey of this for the benefit of the legislature before they adjourned. We found out that of 812 dams which had been built in Oklahoma, there were 5,046 easements had been obtained voluntarily. These easements were signed by 8,790 people voluntarily, and that only 39 tracts of land had been condemned in the entire state. So this is an example or demonstrates what the people in the watershed feel toward this program.